It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Vinny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
So here we are again, y'all. Another episode of Cats Talk Wednesday. Terry TB Brown, Vinny Hardy here. Another fun episode. TB got us jam-packed with guests.
It's the bowl spectacular, baby. It's bowl season. Bowls. So we're going to be talking a lot of college bowls. We got some guests, friends of the show at this point. But we got them set up. We got Katie Dworzinski going to come on. Garnet and Black.
Garnet and
I
Black
should know this. Garnet and Black Attack. I get it right. She's going to be mad. Yeah. But we're going to talk a little bit of South Carolina because they had a better season than we anticipated, beating Kentucky.
We played a role in that.
Right. And then handling Tennessee and then making Dabo cry sweet tears. That's always fun. And then we got Carrie Lewis of Girls Beer and Sports, who watches more college football than Lee Corso. So she's going to come on. We're going to talk some bowls. And rounding out today's show, longtime friend of the show, personal friend of mine since I've been here in Iowa, of Go Iowa Awesome, Adam Jacoby is going to come on. And for the second year in a row, we're going to preview the Wildcats and the Hawkeyes playing a bowl game. So there you go.
Unbelievable that's the matchup, and just played them, and I didn't think it would shake out like that. You were bracing for it, and as you like to say, yea, verily, it came to pass.
Absolutely. That was my thing. Is I saw a couple of weeks ago, depending on how the Big Ten West shook out, whether it was going to be Purdue, Iowa, Illinois, and I'm like, man. So after not playing for 100 years, twice in one calendar year, 2 times since I've been married to my lovely missus, who was a Hawkeye fan. And like I was telling on the spaces last night, now that we're in this house, all through the summer, right? Summer and fall, I've been Kentucky guy. Every time I'm outside of my house, I got my Kentucky stuff on.
Mm-hmm.
So these people know. Hey, that don't tell the Department of Transportation I still have my Kentucky license plate. But that's neither here nor there. So all these folks know I'm a Kentucky guy. And we'll see how it goes. But we got lots of bowl stuff to talk about. Very exciting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit of the CFP and different things of that nature. And very exciting.
Absolutely. And y'all can watch us on Roku and YouTube and listen on Anchor and Spotify and a host of other platforms. And we definitely appreciate it. Proud to be a part of the BS3 network, being sort of Ivan Dawkins, friends of the show, just like our upcoming guests. Proud to be a part of this podcast umbrella and be able to be brought to all kinds of different eyes and ears each and every week. Before we get to the bowl, I just want to, because we had the regular season's over and Kroger Field is done being the home of the Wildcats for another year. But we had the state championship football game, so I just want to run through real quick and highlight all 6 of the scores, because it's always cool that they get to play there and compete for a state championship there. Our homie Freddie Maggart did every single game, color all 6, 3 on Friday, 3 on Saturday. So in single A, Pikeville, hop on the jump from where I grew up, and they always beat us in the playoffs. As good as Cumberland was, they can never beat Pikeville. And then the next week, Pikeville would usually get drilled by Beechwood. So I was like, my God, Beechwood must be off the chain. because they handling Pikeville. So Pikeville beat Raceland 41-9. Beechwood, who is now 2A, beat Mayfield 14-13. Boyle County, right there where our wonderful friend Tina Cox is, they're in Danville, and they've been a power for decades. Boyle County beat Corbin 32-26 in 3A. Those were the Friday games. On Saturday, go to your neck of the woods. Cal Christian Academy in Louisville shut Bardstown out 38-0. That was for the 4A title. 5A, Frederick Douglass beat Bowling Green 28-7. And go back to your neck of the woods again for 6A, Bullitt East, which Shannon the Dude for KSR went there.
Yeah.
Against your round of shots co-panelist Corey Price, who went to Mail. Bullitt East beats Mail 28-27, and they did a Philly special for a 2-point conversion to win it. So it was quite the high drama for the 6A title.
And Mail, they've gone through a stretch like the Buffalo Bills, 4 straight title game losses. But, I can't say anything. It's been so long since my school played. I don't even think they had the forward pass when Seneca won its Lone State football championship. And yes, Wes Unseld was a part of it.
Wes he brought hardware home in every category, man.
I mean, there's really Seneca athletics with and without Wes Unseld. So yeah, back-to-back basketball and football championship. So that's pretty good. I
don't keep up with high school in Kentucky religiously, especially not as much as my dad did. We call and talk on the phone, and he would still give me the rundown of who's doing what statewide. I still kind of peep at it and try, but I did look through the scores one particular Friday. It was towards the end of the season. It's a 10-game regular season, and this was week 9. And I did see where your Seneca High School was like 7-2, so they had a good season. So no doubt they made the playoffs, and I don't know how far they went, but they had a winning season. They won 7-8 games, and I was like, go ahead, Seneca.
Well, I've explained this before. I don't know if they won 7 games my entire 4 years, because you remember in the 90s, Kentucky in the SEC East. The East was the heavy hitters, right? And so before the reshuffling and going to the 6As, our district for a lot of things was Mayo, Manual, Trinity, and St. X. That was our district. Mm-hmm. And so, and then we would play Fern Creek, who was always good. So in our neck of the woods, it was Seneca and Atherton were like Kentucky Vanderbilt of the 90s, where it was like, look, the losers in the bottom of the barrel. The loser is probably going to be winless.
Right.
Right. So it was tough. And I don't know what the districts and regions and stuff look like now, but it was just tough to have to play. That was back when Chris Redmond was playing, and Mayo was at the top of their game. And so, we got it taken to us a little bit. So I'm glad they got it turned around, because, the kids are always great, right? The kids are always working hard, but it's tough when you have to compete with those football factories year in, year out.
Absolutely. And with that leads us right into the first guest that you booked, a wonderful lady, friend of the show, and I'll let you bring her right on in, TV.
Oh, is it the great Katie Dwierzinski? I think I'm getting better. I mean, it takes me about 10 times for her to be on the show for me to get the names right, but I'm working on it.
You had it. That was great.
There we go. There we go. See, it takes a little bit. I'm a little slow on the uptake, but Katie, thank you so much for joining our bowl extravaganza.
Of course.
We had to have you on because last time we had you on was before South Carolina, and Vinny and I had our chests pumped out, and you were kind of, we'll see what happens. And then, as I say, yay, verily came to pass. The Gamecocks left Lexington with a pretty convincing win, but that was not the peak of the season. So you have the floor to explain about how the Cox ended the regular season.
Oh, do you mean upsetting 2 top 10 teams to knock them both out of the playoffs? Is that what you're talking
about? That's a little bit what I'm talking about. So let's back it up. Tennessee is feeling pretty good about themselves. Oh, I see you got a little visitor.
Yeah, he says hi.
Yeah, mine finally. I don't know where he went, Vinny. You know he's out. Anyway, dogs and everything. So Tennessee comes to town, and I don't know what was going on. I wasn't watching it, but I was keeping track of the score, and I thought there was a score bug defect. But watching that game, what was that like?
Kind of unbelievable. I mean, I predicted that they would win because that's my whole thing is predicting they'll win every week. But I did not predict like a blowout win. And even when it was happening, I was like, well, is this going to like stay? I mean, we were just doing everything perfectly, which obviously is my prediction every week that it will go perfectly. But it never turns out that way. So I was really surprised too. I did not, even with all my optimism, I would not have predicted a blowout like that. I would have predicted maybe a win that was very close and lucky, but to sort of just decimate Tennessee. I mean, obviously with Hendon Hooker getting hurt, that was tough. And I really felt bad for them. They lost on the field, but I think that was even a bigger loss was losing him because he was so good and seemed like such a good guy. So that was obviously tough for them to come back from too. But the whole game, I don't think anyone really expected to see that happen, but I was very glad it did.
And that always makes my heart feel well anytime Tennessee loses.
Oh,
Tennessee losing is almost on par with the Kentucky win. Is that fair, Vinny?
Yeah, I messaged Katie and I was like, thank y'all so much for beating the crap out of Tennessee. And because the misery, the Mondays after Tennessee losses down here are just great. And not to diminish the Cox either, Katie. We hate to see Hendon Hooker get hurt. As much as I hate Tennessee, I hate to see him go down with an injury. Y'all were blowing him out before he got hurt. It wasn't like he got hurt in the first quarter, and then y'all had a comfortable lead. And Rattler was out of his mind. The offense hadn't done that all year, and it just whatever perfect storm, whatever you want to call it, hanging 63 on them. I hate to be petty, but I was taking so much joy in that. That was glorious.
And I used to be that person. You can't hate from outside the club. Like, it ain't my team doing it. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this. I'm like, Katie, friend of the show, friend on the Twitter streets. I'm happy for her. I'm happy that Tennessee's losing. So, yeah, I'm going to hate from outside the club, even though we got boat raced by Tennessee and South Carolina.
Yes.
So after that great win and everything's going good in Gamecock land, then we go to the last game of the season where it's always, is it the Palmetto State? How's that rivalry labeled?
The Palmetto Bowl, I think, is what it's called.
Okay. I knew it was something because you got that's the tree on the South Carolina flag with the crescent moon. Is that right?
Yes.
Look at me, Vinny. I know flags. Ohio is a pennant. I know that.
Oh, okay.
All right. Anyway.
Just killing us with the knowledge.
That's my Kentucky degree put into use. Anyway, so South Carolina is going to Clemson, and probably my least favorite coach in college football.
That's the correct opinion.
Vinny, I don't like that dude. That dude said he was going to quit when players got paid, but he's still cashing the $1 million check, $9 million check. So going to Clemson kind of with house money a little bit, how was that game?
I will say I only saw the first half because that day was also Illinois Northwestern Day. Another thrilling game, let me tell you. And my dad and I were in Evanston for Illinois Northwestern. So we were like, the drive up there, I'm like watching it on my phone. And then we're in the stands while South Carolina was about to win. There were like 2 minutes left. And I was like, Dad, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. So I was really excited. People around us in the stands at Northwestern were like, Clemson's going to lose. Clemson's going to lose. And I was like, that's right. That's my team. They're doing it. You're welcome. But no, I did eventually see the whole game. And that too, the Clemson side of things is like, well, you only won by 1 point and like you shouldn't even celebrate that. Like, I don't care if it's 1 point or 100 points. We won, you lost. Like, that's the way it is. Yeah. And I don't believe for a second that if it was reversed, Clemson fans wouldn't do this. Like, if they won by 1 point, they'd be celebrating that too. So it was really exciting to see that they won, and obviously great momentum for the end of the year and for bowls, and to ruin Clemson's end of the season was even better, and to do it at Clemson, especially because South Carolina rushed Clemson's field after the game.
Oh, look, man, that's disrespectful. And I love rivalry weekend. I love college football in general, but it's rivalry weekend. You've got ridiculous trophies that people are playing for. And sometimes the best outcome is ruining your rival's season. It's knocking them out of the CFP. It's knocking them down out of a New Year's Day bowl. It's doing all that. But to rush the field on the road, Vinny, I saw that and I thought about, Rick James putting his muddy boots on Eddie Murphy's couch. Like, that's just disrespectful. Like, not only are we going to win, we're going to let you know about it. So that was fantastic.
Well, then after the game, Shane Beamer's kids were running down the Clemson Hill too. So they were really, even the kids were in on it.
And I think that's to varying degrees, every rivalry. I mean, not everybody poisons the other school's trees, things of that nature. But living outside of Knoxville here, they played Vanderbilt, and I thought that would be a tougher game. Vanderbilt had bowl eligibility on the line, and Tennessee had just got destroyed by South Carolina. Everybody in Tennessee, in Neyland Stadium, they will do the checker thing in the sections. They got the orange and the white. The whole talk, I think the weather ruined it, but the whole talk, Tennessee fans were going to go to Vanderbilt Stadium and do a checker kneeling in Vanderbilt. So that's disrespectful. That was their plan. So we don't have a problem with y'all storming Death Valley and running down the hill. It's fine. It's fine.
And being in Big Ten country now, like football's big here, Vinny. But as I've tried to tell my coworkers, it's just different down. Like, it's just, I understand Iowa State, that's a rivalry and whatever. But man, there's just not that same amount of disrespect that you get when you got the SEC versus the ACC. I love it. I'm here for sports pettiness. I live for it. That's why when Shane Beamer beat Kentucky and he pulled out them sunglasses, Vinny and I talked about it. Like, hey, you got that coming, Coach Stoops. Like, you got that coming. You gonna say something unprovoked, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
I will say there was not a lot of vitriol in Evanston. I mean, Northwestern lost badly. Besides everyone in the stadium chanting ILL for most of the time, it was not my dad. So my dad went to Illinois, but has adopted Northwestern as like his team. So going to the game, he wore a Northwestern hat and an Illinois sweatshirt. And we get on the train in Evanston to go up to the stadium, and it's like 98% Illinois fans. And my dad was like, oh, maybe I should lose this hat. Like, maybe I shouldn't wear this. So to his credit, he kept the Northwestern hat on, but he like unzipped his jacket extra so you could see his Illinois sweatshirt. And I was like, all right, Dad, I see you. Thanks. And so like every play of the game, he's like cheering no matter what happens. Cause he was like, no, I'm here for both teams. Like, this is great. But as it kept going on and Northwestern was like really, really, really losing, my dad was like standing up to cheer for Illinois whenever they did anything. And I was like, no, you've earned this. It's all right. Go ahead. It's okay.
So just a question, South Carolina finishes the year strong. I know, like we talked before the Kentucky game, there was a little bit of how this season's going to go, but Beamer's got some momentum going. And where's the bowl game? Who are they playing in the bowl game?
We are playing Notre Dame in the Tech Slayer Bowl in Jacksonville.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and say this, Vinny. If South Carolina beats Notre Dame, I might have to be on the timeline talking about Go Cox, man. Because if you beat Tennessee, you beat Clemson, you beat Notre Dame, I might have to put some South Carolina stuff in the old closet, man.
Man, that's a nice little trifecta, and I'll be pulling just as hard for y'all against Notre Dame as I was against Tennessee. You can't pull for Notre Dame.
No.
Who does that?
My dad really hates Notre Dame, and I texted him the other day and was like, Dad, we have even more reason to hate Notre Dame now. And his answer was just yes, exclamation point. I was like, all right, good.
Absolutely. Yeah, gotta pull for y'all and look, you're on a nice little roll. I was kind of rolling my eyes at Beamer with all the dancing he would do and all the stuff when he first started. And I was like, I don't know if this dude's gonna last. I know he's the coaching is in his blood and who his dad is and all that, but and then we kind of let him get his footing as far as a program building win and something he can go tell recruits we got a road win against a ranked team, and it was at Kentucky's expense. And then he's just kind of taking that momentum, and now y'all are going to be ranked ahead of us next year, rightfully so this time. So it's been happening for years, but y'all have earned it, and you got to tip your cap to the man. He's doing his thing. You know, I still was laughing at him with the Mayo ball. I'm like, man, this goofball. But he's got y'all doing some good stuff, man.
Yeah, it's really, I think it could have been, I mean, I really like him and I like his vibe, but I think if we had lost a bunch of games, it really could have gone in a different direction and been like, okay, you look like an idiot. What is the team doing? So it has been fortunate that he's been really fun, but that we have also played good football and it's all kind of come together at the same time.
Because Terry will tell you, we talked about it, but even going 6-6 last year when nobody expected that, you beat Vandy by the hair, your chin and Missouri, and that's the margins anyway. But you're this close to 4-8, and who knows how it goes. But he won the bowl game, and then has built on that this year. So hey,
and I will say, like in the darker Will Muschamp years, the team you could tell would quit. Like they'd get down and they'd quit. Even the games that we've lost under Beamer, the team really hasn't looked checked out. Like they may not be playing well, but you can tell they're still playing and competing. So there's definitely the improvement there too. I mean, like this year we got killed by Florida, who wasn't good. We lost to Missouri, who wasn't good. But even, I mean, I was at the Missouri game. It was a bad game, but it never looked like the team quit. So I think that's been something too. Obviously, the win-loss record is better than people expected, but I think he's really just sort of energized the team to keep competing and to not like let themselves get out of the game. Because then we do have games like Tennessee or Clemson. Clemson, they were down and rallied and won by 1. So I think it's been really helpful to see the team keep playing and trying to win and doing their best, even if the game doesn't look like it's going well.
I just looked to, as far as your dad goes, Mississippi State plays Illinois in the bowl game. So
yes, there was, if they had gone differently, South Carolina and Illinois would have played in that game. And I thought, oh no, me and my sister versus my parents. It's going to be a tough holiday, but we don't have that. Terry, though, I know Kentucky and Iowa.
So, yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry.
Well, so last year, I said to you, Vinny, when both teams are 6-0, I was like, they're going to end up playing. And they did. So this year, oh yeah, as soon as it was announced, my phone's blowing up. Everybody's tagging me in the tweets. Everybody's on Facebook. And I'm like, yeah, I know how this is going to go. So, yeah, I understand having a house divided. After not playing for 100 years, Kentucky and Iowa, two random teams, back-to-back years, because that's what we need.
Unbelievable.
It's going to be fun. So, again, Katie, thank you for joining us. Any thoughts on the CFP? Is Georgia the team to beat? Do you see TCU? Mm-hmm. Hold on. Vinny, let me get some more water.
Don't put Tennessee State in there now.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm thinking Texas State from, what was that movie with Sinbad in it? You know what I'm talking about? With Kathy Ireland, the football movie.
Oh,
it was Tennessee State.
Oh, okay.
Necessary Roughness. I knew it was going to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. See, that's another kind of divergent topic. Anyway, thoughts on the CFP and Michigan
TCU.
TCU. You say it, Benny.
Just say the Horn Frogs.
Horn Frog. All right, we'll fix it in editing. Anyway.
I mean, Georgia obviously has been like the top team all year. So if they won, I wouldn't be surprised. And then I guess at least I would feel better that South Carolina got blown out by them early in the season because they went on to be the national champion. TCU, I like kind of forget about them, which is no fault of their own. I just often forget about like Western more schools. So, I mean, good for them for like managing to stay among some of these teams, the Michigans, the Georgias that are in there constantly. TCU obviously earned their place there too. I hate Michigan because I'm my mother's daughter. So I would like them to not do well. So yeah, I mean, if I had to predict, I would guess Georgia. But then so many crazy things have happened all football season. I could also see Georgia having like a perfect regular season and then maybe not, just doing one thing wrong when it matters most and losing. Alabama not being in it. I know, like, my cousin went to Alabama, so I don't hate Alabama, but I think it is interesting to see a playoff without Alabama in it, and see these other teams and maybe someone like a TCU who hasn't been in the highest level of bowls recently. I'm just mostly glad Clemson's not in it, though.
We're going to need a family tree diagram of all your connections to all these schools, because there's family members, every team we're bringing up. We're going to need the
We're everywhere.
family. Yeah, we're going to need that.
Oh man, yes. But I think, man, Terry, we need to go ahead. We talked about rivalry, Clemson, South Carolina. What is Louisville doing? Is Satterfield or Cincinnati? What is Cincinnati doing? I think is the question. What is really going on with that? And they're playing in the bowl game, and he just jumped ship.
Yeah,
so
he tried to interview at South Carolina. Is that right?
Yeah, he said he was being interviewed, but then it was like, no, they never really offered him, and he was just like saying that, and so no one really knew what was going on. I don't think anyone like in the South Carolina fan base particularly wanted him to be the coach. So it was like a weird period, where there were different things being said by different people, and then it ended up sort of just being nothing.
Nobody wants that dude.
No,
like, he's not bad enough to get run out of town, but he's not good enough. Like, Cincinnati fans are not enthused, and Louisville fans are like, glad to see you go. Like, and then, South Carolina, no offense, but no, he really didn't interview with us. Like, what? He's the Rodney Dangerfield. No respect for that guy. Like, hey, no, we didn't even interview him. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that's like high school. Like, we not dating. Like, that is just going back. Like, so that dude, I don't get it. Why you would go from? I see why you would leave Louisville, because it's a bad school. I'm gonna say that
and leave before they fired him too. I mean, because eventually he was, because I don't think there was any trust there after whatever happened with the flirtation with South Carolina, and I think they both just been looking at each other sideways, and he's probably been wanting to try to leave, and so. But for Cincinnati to go from Fickell, who got them in the playoff, to Satterfield, I don't, who led that search?
That's lukewarm. That's just a lukewarm reheating of that. He's the leftovers of coaches.
Yeah.
When you look around, you're like, do the smell test. It's okay.
It does it does kind of have a South Carolina hiring Will Muschamp vibe. Like, well, we'll take this guy because like he might be okay, and he's not. It is funny though, because Satterfield's Twitter is like revamped to show he's the Cincinnati coach, but his handle is still Coach Sat U of L. So he's like affiliated with both somehow, but obviously not. He just hasn't changed his like Twitter handle yet.
Well, and they're playing each other in the bowl game.
Yes.
So, and it's in Fenway Park, so the sidelines are going to be all there, matched up together. What a mess.
That's one thing I love about college football, because you don't get this ridiculous anywhere else. This is just absolutely ridiculous. You're not going to have the Dallas Cowboys coach quit, then go coach the 49ers and be on it like that. That's why I love college football. I love it, love it, love it.
You got to. And, it's just fixing to crank up. The bowl season will tide us over to the playoff, and South Carolina's going to beat Notre Dame. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Notre Dame lost to Marshall at home. Let's not forget that. So,
it's true.
I'm so anti Notre Dame. They didn't let me in the Catholic Church. But before we let you go, Miss South Carolina, Palmetto State, women's basketball still as dominant as ever.
Yes.
Are we looking at a repeat performance from Dawn Staley and her young ladies?
I think so. I would say yes regardless, but yeah, I mean, I think so. I think they have a really good chance too. I mean, I know they've had some big ranked wins already and some come from behind and have already really shown like a strong start to the season. I hope our men's team can maybe get a little bit better. They had a tough stretch recently, I think. I think it would be exciting if both the teams could be good. We have a new men's basketball coach, so hopefully he can help a little bit, bring them up. But I believe men's basketball and possibly women's basketball also beat Clemson already this year. So they're all doing well. Everyone's doing well on that front.
Who is the men's coach?
Is it Lamont?
Lamont Paris.
I got the Lamont part. I'm proud. I'm happy.
I believe he coached at Chattanooga before us, but I'm not positive.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, get South Carolina men's hoops back to that annoying stage where they just bother everybody. You remember those BJ Mackey and you remember those teams?
Melvin Watson and Devin Downey and
I was there when Devin Downey was there. I only went to 2 basketball games my whole time at South Carolina, but one of them was when Zam Frederick hit a buzzer beater against Florida to win. And I was like, well, I came to the right game. Like, I maybe will never see them win again, but I came to the right game for this one.
I've never been angry at South Carolina than they beat, remember 97, they beat Kentucky for senior night.
Mm-hmm.
First senior night loss in like 40 years, and it was South Carolina. That was, I was like, we're going to lose to these guys? Get out of here.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Katie is like the TB, you know what I'm talking about. She's like our friends, Religiously Kentucky, Jay Hayes and JD Hall. Jay Hayes is always picking Kentucky to go 12-0 in every football season and undefeated in every basketball season. So you're like the Jay Hayes of South Carolina. It's just
I really am. It finally paid off kind of this year. We, on Garnet and Black Attack, we do a roundtable every week where we predict wins, and the guys always predict like losses. And this year, all the comments were like, oh, Katie got it again. Katie got it again. And like, finally, my years of saying we were going to win finally paid off this year.
There you go.
There we go. Because this, also just a reminder, we are a very pro Katie
That's
podcast.
true.
I don't think you're going to find a more pro Katie podcast anywhere streaming than what we've got right here.
Not that I found.
Yeah, I took your advice, Vinny, and I got me a Katie.
That's it.
Led me to Iowa, but that's kind of a meet cute kind of thing. That's kind of a meet cute.
Yeah.
Hallmark movie time. Are you settled in to the big city girl that's going back home and meets the guy that's building an orphanage and has a dog or a kid or something?
Of course, yeah. I watched a new movie last week. It was actually really bad. I didn't like it, but I have a bunch from DVR, so I'm ready to go. This weekend. I'm like, football calmed down a little bit. I've got some hours to kill on the weekends now, so yes, I will be watching one of the new ones this year has gotten like really, really good reviews, so I'm excited to watch that one.
I got one for you. We watched on the Netflix. Again, I'm being old man here, Vinny. The Netflix. It's got Freddie Prinze Jr. as the dad that falls in love with a pop music star. It's the most ridiculous premise, but I watch because I'm like, Freddie Prinze Jr. is playing dad roles? Woo!
Yeah.
I believe Freddie Prinze Jr. and I have the same birthday, so I'm obligated to watch this movie now.
Well, you should watch it. It's good. But Katie, we won't keep you. We thank you so much for kicking off our bowl extravaganza.
Of course.
Had to let you come on and everybody's hollering about the Cox. I was against Tennessee and against anytime you make Dabo Swinney, start giving you the Bible verses and you're trying to build through adversity. Vinny, like I told you with the Louisville football game, that's loser talk. Anytime you lose a game and it's like, well, we got to overcome. It's about the journey. It ain't about the journey. It's about points. It's about points. I don't want to hear all that. You preach that on Wednesday, not on Saturday after you lose to your rival.
That's right.
But Katie, where can we find your South Carolina coverage? Because I know you're working hard with Garnet and Black. I think that's what I said earlier, Vinny.
Garnet and Black Attack.
We'll fix it editing. But where can we find you?
On Twitter, Garnet and Black Attack's handle is GABATTACK, so it's Gab Attack. And then my personal hollering about the Cox is at KDZWIERZYNSKI. So I will hopefully see you all hollering about the Cox against Notre Dame, because I assume it's going to be my timeline will be like either people hate Notre Dame or love Notre Dame. So everyone who hates Notre Dame, I'm just going to force to holler about the Cox with me.
That's right.
So that's where I'll be.
and we'll get some good Notre Dame puns. I'm throwing in Notre Lame.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm throwing that out, Vinny. I'm a little dated, but I'm gonna throw that out.
That's always a classic.
That's right. But Katie, thank you so much for joining us for our first annual bowl extravaganza spectacular. We
Of
certainly
course.
appreciate it.
Thank you for
And,
having me.
Absolutely. We'll have you on again because by nature of conference, Kentucky and South Carolina play often. So
Yes, they
I'm
do.
sure we'll touch base for women's basketball and baseball and I don't know whatever else they do.
Yeah, men's basketball. We'll have to do it all.
Absolutely.
course.
Absolutely. So thank you, Katie. Thank you for joining our Pro Katie podcast.
That's right.
I'm here for any and all Pro Katie podcasts.
All right. Thank you very much, Katie.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you,
Bye.
Bye.
Terry. Our second guest is in the green room.
In the green room, we
Jeff
are rolling.
Network
Our
green room.
bowl extravaganza.
That's right.
I'm excited. I've been excited all day at work day. You know, stuff's going on. I'm like, I ain't worried about work stuff. I got a bowl extravaganza. And our next guest, who I said probably watches more college football than Lee Corso ever has, of girls, beer, and sports, the always lovely Carrie Lewis.
Carrie,
Hello.
what's going on, Miss Carrie?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Doing very well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Happy belated anniversary. So
Oh,
congrats
yeah.
to that.
Thank you very
anniversary.
much. Yeah, I was a little disappointed I didn't get to be on Kevin's show just because so much happened on Sunday, and I was like, oh, but some things are more important than Kevin Hale.
Yeah, we didn't have the porn bots popping up, so
Oh,
they were trying to
sorry,
connect the
yeah.
dots. No Carrie, no porn. But anyway, like I said, you watch more college football than anybody else. I'm talking about Vinny Maction. You name a team, whatever you're like. Oh, I saw this team. He's like, oh yeah, James Madison does X, Y. So anyway,
her and the CFO. I be watching y'all's episodes around the shots, man.
yeah, absolutely. So. Kicking off, getting ready for bowl season. Are there any bowls that you are keyed on outside of the CFP?
Yes. I tell you, my number one on this list, honestly, is Troy UTSA. I can't wait to watch that game. That's the Sun Belt champion of Troy, and the Roadrunners of UTSA. And that's the Duluth Trading Cure Bowl, and that is on December 17th. It's on December 16th at 3 p.m. So it's on a Friday, so y'all have to take off work if you're not off work to watch that one. But that's gonna be a really good game because John Summerall is coaching
Right.
Troy, right? And UTSA is 10-2 for the second year in a row. So if you haven't watched either of these teams, they are fun.
Uh-oh. There you go. I got a little freeze up there.
Uh-oh.
There you are. We got you back. You back, Carrie? She's talking about John Summerall against UTSA. Maybe she'll hop off and come back in. Hang on here. Oh, yeah. But yeah, maybe she can come back right in here with us. Summerall went down there and won him a conference championship in his first year.
Yeah.
Beat the crap out of Coastal Carolina, which is an up and coming program, and
The
they're just-
Chanticleers, is that what they are?
yeah.
There we go. I love the random mascots, the Road Runners, the this, the that, the Chanticleers. Give me some more of that.
Yes, for sure. Let me see if she still froze up. Let me get her to pop back in.
Okay.
I am right on cue. I believe she's popping back in.
Sorry about that, y'all. Technology, internet, right?
Right.
So what I was saying is, I love my Magical Money Chickens. I love the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina. I call them Magical Money Chickens because last year they were money, and the Chanticleer is a magical chicken. But the wheels fell off. In the middle of the season for them, the wheels fell off. I don't know why. I know McCall, their quarterback, who has potential to be, I think, a first-round pick, not this year, but next year, he got hurt. And then all of a sudden, the wheels fell off. And Troy destroyed them on Saturday. Destruction. And then UTSA, they ended up winning their conference championship game too. So yeah, that's going to be a really, really fun game to watch, and I would encourage people to watch that one for sure. I actually think I was looking around at some of these. I don't know. Marshall Yukon is an interesting game to me, and that is what bowl is that? That's the Myrtle Beach Bowl on Monday, December 19th. Just because Yukon has sucked at football forever and managed to go 6-6 this year, and actually managed towards the middle to the end of the season to pick up some decent wins, and they seem like they're on a little bit of a roll. And Marshall beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame back in September. But they kind of lost. They've been up and down. So that could actually be an interesting game, in my opinion.
Does UConn, are they in a conference? Or are they, because I know for a while there they weren't in a, okay, all right.
They're not. Yeah, them and Notre Dame are the two that aren't in a conference. Yeah. I'm also going to say Liberty Toledo. I like that matchup. Toledo won the MAC championship last weekend. They beat Ohio. So, and Liberty is Sun Belt, and they beat Arkansas. So that could be a good matchup. Kind of getting into some of the bigger bowls here. I'd say Coastal Carolina and East Carolina, but I don't even know. Like I said, the wheels fell off my chickens, and then Jamie Chadwell decided to go to Liberty.
Yes.
What?
Yeah. It's just a money move. I don't even know if it's as far as a step up in a program. I think he's just
lateral.
Money, just a little bit better check. But yeah,
didn't we play East Carolina in a bowl one year? Didn't Kentucky play East Carolina in a bowl? Or am I making that up?
Yeah.
Didn't Andre Woodson then play it? I don't know, man.
Brooks, I think.
Yeah, it was Richard. Yeah,
I think we beat them.
Yeah, we beat. I don't know. I'm dating myself, but
no, Terry, I think you're right. Yeah.
That's how I equate everything. I'm like, at one time, Kentucky played them in something. That's my 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Did Kentucky play them? Okay.
I think that was that the David Jones kick return game? I don't know.
Wow. This is why we need Corey Price. Corey knows.
So I'll give you one of the last games on kind of on my bowl list is kind of definitely a must watch for me is Tulane USC. That is going to be a good game, and let me tell you why. First of all, USC, you had one job and you couldn't do it. Never trust the Pac-12 to do anything. They have one job. All I do is beat Utah, and Ohio State is out. Right?
But somebody told me that the Pac-12 was okay.
Van don't know what he's talking about. Van don't know West Coast football.
And they were up 17-3, jumped on Utah, and then just got beat down.
Rolled. And Tulane won the AAC conference championship. 10-2. They won 2 games last year. 2 games last year. So, to go 10-2 win your conference championship. So I like that game.
And if you're scrolling on your TV, that green wave logo and that Chanticleer green is very similar, and you can be like, they'll look a lot alike there too, just for whatever that's worth. I think I call it the Les Miles Bowl, Arkansas versus Kansas, because remember he said Arkansas that time when he was talking about Arkansas, because Kansas got off to a hot start and hung on to make it to a bowl. Arkansas was getting hype in the West like Kentucky was in the East, and they, had a lot of struggles. So have to see what happens with that in Memphis. I think that'll be interesting.
Yeah, but if you're going to Memphis, go close to the stadium and don't go venturing too far off. I say that with all the love in my heart to all my folks in 901, but that ain't exactly a place you just want to. Let's take a shortcut. So that's my travel advice if you're going down to Memphis.
Tread cautiously.
So those are your bowls to take care of. So the CFP, I know you're a big fan of a certain team. So I've been saying TSU all day. It's not TSU, Vinny, but TCU does TCU have a chance to surprise some folks?
I'm actually going to say yes. I think that they honestly do. You know, I've been on TCU all season. If you've watched Round Shots, if you listened to GBS, I like Sonny Dykes. I really do. I like the offense that they run. I like Max Duggan. They're a tough team. They are used to coming from behind. In fact, I think they prefer it at this point. You know, they're a very, very tough team. And I think they have a shot. I think they have a better shot than most people are going to give them against Michigan. And I think they definitely have a better shot than some other teams that we've seen, like UC or some other teams that have gotten in the past years that people are like, oh, well, yes, yeah, right. that they're going to come in and get now. TCU to me is they're legitimate. They're a legitimate team, and I think they definitely deserve to be there.
So money on the line. Is this Georgia's little mini tournament to lose, or are you going to say the TCU and the Magic Toads can, you know, the Hypnotoad? That's what it is.
Hypnotoad, yes. All glory to Hypnotoad. Everybody loves Hypnotoad. Yeah, it's George. It's in my mind, it's Georgia's to lose. I mean, you know, Kirby Smart has become a Jedi. He was a Saban Padawan, and he beat the master last year. So he has earned his Jedi, status, I think. And to give him until January 9th, or to give him, as much time, when's December 31st, right? That's I don't know, the Sunday, this January 1st Sunday thing with no college football's throwing me off.
31st.
Yeah, the 31st. To give him that much time to plan. McConkey got hurt in that LSU game, but I think hopefully he'll be back healthy. And they have the best player in the country, in my opinion. The best player. Forget this Heisman stuff. Forget all this that's going to happen this weekend. Brock Bowers is the best football player in America.
He's a bad man.
Yeah, because he blocks like a beast too.
Yes, I was going to say that. He not only can catch the ball and run routes, that guy, he can block.
Yeah. It reminds me of George Kittle, Vinny.
Of course. Here we go. Of course he had to work that in. Wow. Yeah. I mean, and I have to, Kittle is a good player too. He really is. Oh, do you think that Georgia could make Ohio State look like Notre Dame has looked in the playoffs? Will it get that ugly? Could Georgia really embarrass them like that? Because we've heard all year long, Ohio State is not physical, and they're kind of a finesse team. Michigan went to the horseshoe and punched them right in the mouth. Kind of pulled away convincingly in the second half. Could Georgia do that? Is Ohio State up to looking Notre Dame-ish on the national CFP stage?
I hope so. I can't stand the way they got. I just can't. And it is what it is. But you get rolled at home, and then you get to sit at home and do nothing, and then get rewarded for it. Whatever. It is what it is. Georgia. I think Georgia has the ability to do that now. If you watch them play LSU, if you watch the whole game, they kind of let LSU, come back a little bit on them, gave them a little bit of hope there, kind of in the third quarter, into the third quarter, whatever, and eventually pulled away. But I see Ohio State struggled this year with some teams that they never should have. They struggled in the first half of that Northwestern game. They struggled with that they had to. They pulled away in the fourth quarter, but they struggled with them for like 3 quarters, and I can't remember who else it was that they should have put them away. But they've had some issues this year. They're not the end all be all that everybody in the media was calling them, especially at the beginning of the year.
And they let Iowa score an offensive touchdown, which is pretty rare. That's my segue to how excited are you for Kentucky, Iowa 2, Electric Boogaloo? Are you as excited as my household is?
And again, all Iowa had to do, they had one job to beat Nebraska, and they couldn't flip and do it, right?
That's correct.
One job, and you could have walked ass backwards into the Big Ten championship game because nobody wanted to go.
That's right. Illinois had like a 3-game lead at one point, and they pooped the bed.
Yep.
You know,
But I don't know. You know what? It is what it is. It's fine. I'm just glad we're in a bowl, to be honest with y'all. I mean, what is this? Is this 9 years in a row we've been to a bowl? Or 10? Have we been to a bowl every year since Stoops has been here?
No.
Well, we were 2 wins, so I want to say, yeah. But it's getting close to that. We talk about this all the time on Round of Shots. I understand everybody wants to get to that 10-win plateau, but it's really okay for a college football fan to say, you know what, beat my rivals, have 7 or 8 wins, have a fun bowl game. Like that, to me, it's okay. It's not accepting mediocrity. It's accepting this is okay, and I'm okay with that.
Terry, I'm right with you on that one. I totally 100% agree with you. I don't understand why we just can't go have fun. It's a bowl game. You know, it's you're supposed to go and have fun at it. It's supposed to be fun for the players. It's supposed to be fun it's a reward, you know?
Right.
Did we have the season that everybody wanted? No, but it's the season that we got, and it still was decent.
Yeah.
I think there's enough. I will take enough. Was it 7-5? Is that what we finished? 7-5?
Yep.
To balance out 40 years of not getting 6 wins. Give me a decade of 7-5 to balance out, because we're all the same age. We've all been in them really, really small Commonwealth Stadium crowds. That one game, was it the Indiana game that was terrible? That 3-0 game.
Yeah. I was there,
and
yeah.
I had to stay for the whole thing because I was in a band and we were allowed to leave.
Because I would think that was the game, Vita. I think we walked back to our dorms, like got something to eat or whatever, and then came back to the stadium. They weren't even checking tickets. We just walked right back in. I remember those days. And so I remember those days. I am never turning my nose up. Oh, another bowl? Yes, another bowl. I'm excited.
If a down year for us is 7-5 disappointment. I said a few weeks ago on here, I don't do as much research as Terry or Corey Price, but I was looking at the bowl history. They went to the Hall of Fame Bowl under Jerry Claiborne in like 1984. And then for I don't know how many years after that, you had to combine 2 years consecutively for them to have a combined 7 wins or 8 wins or 10 wins, because it was 4-7, 3-8, 2-9, 5-5. You had to combine 2 years to get 7 wins. So if we drop down and finish 7-5, I'm not gonna be mad, and I'm sure Stoops said 2 plays away from 9-3. They are. Should have never lost South Carolina and Vanderbilt and all that. They did, but 7-5 beats a lot of the bad years we've seen, and we're not even old. We're middle-aged, but there's people who've seen even more bad years.
Middle-aged, Vinny? Can't we just, we're seasoned. We've seen some things. But what do I tell Kevin every week? Got to watch more college football, and people throwing up their arms about what this season was or wasn't. And I think I said maybe the last time we were on round, sometimes you just have a year. It's not a great year. It's not a terrible year. Sometimes it's just a year. And as a Kentucky fan, I'm excited to have just a year because we've had a whole lot of terrible years. It wasn't until Van told us his 5 years they won 15 games. That game, and we're turning up. We won. Yeah.
Oh, Terry having an internet.
I'm gonna.
TV freezing up a little bit, but yeah, it's we get TV back in here too, but yeah, it's just
I'm just I'm just not going to complain about it. I'm
No.
really not. Now, am I thrilled that we're playing Iowa again? Not particularly, but you know what? So I guess Arkansas had first pick before we did, and they ended up picking the Liberty Bowl because of the proximity geographically. So,
yeah, so it doesn't have the same, panache. Honestly, I think both offenses are worse than they were last year. Kentucky clearly is. They kind of scored the last 2 or 3 games of the season, but Terry was at the game where they had 2 safeties in one game. So, we talk about having fun at a bowl game. Scangarello is out. Would you just want to see trick plays and Wildcat and just Levis is not playing. He just announced he's not going to play. So you just want to say just let it all hang out, Kerry. Is that what you're saying?
I want to see what Eddie Gran can cobble together, and I am not kidding. I know a lot of people don't like Eddie Gran, and I know he's this and that and the other, and everybody wanted to run him out of town and all this stuff, and he's not still on the staff, so why not? I say why not? Let him see what he can draw up and let's just go with it. I mean, it's the last game of the season. It's a bowl game. We've played Iowa before. Iowa's probably not going to show us anything too spectacularly, complicated or whatever. But
their quarterback starting for Iowa has thrown as many passes this season as the 3 of us combined. So that's not great. So have some fun if you're Kentucky. Why not? That's what bowls are supposed to be anyway.
Let Deuce Hogan play against his old team. Kai Sharon, Wildcat, just flea flickers, double reverses, just
the annexation of Puerto Rico. If you remember that reference there, Vin.
Yeah. I like, let's throw in some exotic blitzes in there, French, he don't know what's French. That's it's French, right? FRENTZ, right?
Ferentz, yeah.
Ferentz, yeah.
Is the coach, and Brian, they're gonna run that boy out of town.
Are they? Are they?
They try to, man. Like that's the thing is they've had world-class defenses, but the offense ain't doing nothing.
Because I looked it up, and Ferentz is currently right now, I believe he's the longest tenured coach in college football, at least in the Power 5.
Yeah, the Iowa's only had I think 2 coaches in our lifetime.
Because he got there, I had to look it up because my husband, the CFO, and I were talking about it the other day, and I believe he got there in 99.
Yeah,
man.
And then Hayden Fry was there 25 years before that. So it's basically only 2 coaches in 50 years. That's why they're like the Steelers. They don't change head coaches because they get it. And that's what college football is. If you say, okay, national championship, that's nice, but that's not what we're working for. Like I said, you beat your rivals, right? You have a winning record, nice bowl games. Because let me tell you something. There's something people in Iowa want to do in December, and that's not be in Iowa. And if we can go somewhere warm, that's what they want to do. Like, boy, it'd be great to get out of here. And you go do that. Even Nashville's going to be warm considered what we're going to have here.
Fair point.
So, 50 degrees. Woo!
Yeah. Now, I don't know if I should even ask, but what does the CFO stand for? And if that's off topic, maybe if I should know.
Chief Financial Officer.
Oh, I thought it was something different. I mean,
no. That's why I call my husband. I'm the CEO because I'm the CEO of the podcast and all that stuff, and he's the CFO. He's the Chief Financial Officer.
There's something else to it besides.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Nope.
Well, cool.
You trying to get spicy on this December? Sure.
I mean, I was like, Kerry's probably got some other meaning to it. I meant to ask you last time that we had you on. I was like, man, she probably got some other little meaning because I hear about it every time I listen to the episode. You refer to him as that, and you talk about the CFO, and y'all watching Maction, y'all watch college football final, and that's your whole routine. That's y'all's thing. Like, let me just ask what it stands for. Okay.
Pretty standard business speak.
Yup.
There we go. There we go. I had something, Vin. You made me lose it.
Well, okay. Well, what
we got
else?
Girls Beer Sports.
Yes.
Okay.
I was just.
We're usually better than this, Carrie Lewis. We apologize. It's all
fine.
I was just gonna try to jump in while you getting your thought. I was just gonna ask.
All right, Vinny, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
What was coming on the next episode of Girls Beer
Well,
Sports?
yeah, that's what. Yeah, we're on the same page. We're gonna segue. Yeah. Go ahead and talk about Girls Beer Sports. Who I've got to get my lovely wife on Girls Beer Sports because she drinks exotic beers and she likes sports. The teams I tell her to root for.
She's not. Oh, I don't see that. No, she ain't listening to you, Terry.
No. That's why I got to have a plan on how I'm going to watch this game. I'm going to watch this bowl game. She was nice last year, but she may not be as nice.
Yeah, y'all not doing what you did last year. It's going to be totally different, huh?
Yeah, I may be out on the street watching the game. And it stinks because all my neighbors know me as the Kentucky guy, so they know who I am. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, Carrie Lewis, Girls Beer Sports. What's coming up on Girls Beer Sports?
Wow, so much has happened in just even the last 2 days. You know, we'll talk about Kentucky getting the Music City Bowl against Iowa. We'll talk about Will Levis not playing. We'll talk about what happened with Louisville and Cincinnati and Satterfield and Brom
bizarre. Good for Louisville, I guess, but bizarre.
I tell you what, watch that bowl game. Not only are they playing against each other, Cincinnati and Louisville, but they got to stand on the same sideline.
Yeah. And what makes that even more bizarre is they're really rivals.
Yeah.
They'd only stopped playing because of conference realignment, but the Louisville-Cincinnati game and everything used to be really, really intense. That's the Metro Conference day.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're old rivals from the Metro Conference. You beat me to it, Terry. I was gonna say.
Well, and my dad, his favorite basketball player ever was Oscar Robertson, and talked about watching Oscar Robertson when he was at Cincinnati come to Louisville to play in the Armory, which is predating the Freedom Hall. So, like, this is that's I-71 thing has been a thing for a long time. So having those rivals in a bowl game, probably not the best idea. But having them with a coach back and forth that nobody really wanted.
Right.
Ain't nobody sad to see him leave, and they ain't happy to see him come.
Well, I thought like that was a joke. Like when I saw that yesterday or Monday or whenever that happened, I was like, is this like something like the Onion or something? Onion Sports, like
yeah. I had to check and say, okay, is that a real check mark or one of these Elon Musk check marks tweeting it out? But
yeah. So
yay for Louisville. They got a guy they wanted, I guess.
So we'll talk about that. I'm going to touch on also the madness that's been going on with this transfer portal. Wow. I have some thoughts on that. Most of them are pretty good, but it's been interesting in terms of that because the transfer portal has been in place about 3 or 4 years, and it's taken 3 or 4 years for coaches and players to figure out how this thing works. And this year now, we're finally seeing that people have finally figured it out. And I mean, you're getting teams with, I think Texas A&M had 15 players in the portal. I mean, Oklahoma may have had 15, just 12, 15 players in the portal. But some of these teams, yeah, it's gone crazy. Definitely, for sure. And then if you're interested in World Cup, I'm interested in World Cup. We do talk about the World Cup. We have been talking about it. So,
yeah,
there you go.
Absolute good stuff. Always fun. We went 8 years? I think we established from Blog Talk Radio days to Roku days, and now we got you on twice in one football season. So we're pretty excited about that. Carrie Lewis, always glad to talk to you about sports. Fantastic. Watching more college football than Lee Corso.
I try.
Absolutely. It's her time of year. It's her time to shine right now.
Yeah, remember the old ESPN commercials, the most wonderful time of the year? They had a whole song about the bowls, bowl week or bowl, whatever But thank you for stopping by our bowl extravaganza as we kick things off with bowl season. So, Carrie Lewis, thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Vinny, Terry, thanks for having me. Love talking about bowls. Love talking about college football. Love talking with you guys. It's always so much fun when I get to come on and talk to y'all.
Well,
We appreciate
we're showing we're gonna have you as a regular guest, and
it.
like I said, I'm gonna get the wife. She drinks some beer, so and she's a girl, and again, she likes the sports I like. So there you go.
Let's do
I'm
it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
We appreciate it, Carrie.
Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it. See y'all later.
Bye bye.
Yes, sir. Two good guests on.
Yeah, man, we
Carrie.
rocking and rolling. We had to. I know we had to holler about the Cox. I know we had to talk about the Hypnotoads at TCU and everything.
That's right. Let me ask you before Adam comes on. Your Lakers, man, are Anthony Davis was on a monstrous tear. He gets flu-like symptoms in Cleveland, doesn't play long. They get beat. They got Toronto next. Weren't expecting much a few weeks ago. Did they change your perspective? Or are you still just kind of Westbrook played a little bit decent last night. What your outlook for the season, real quick, before Adam comes?
I liked. Obviously, I want my team to win, but by the same token, and I love seeing Anthony Davis play well. But for my money, if Anthony Davis has to play like that for the Lakers to win, that's just not sustainable. Because when you look at it, Michael Jordan didn't have to be Michael Jordan 82 games for the Bulls to win, go 72-10. Like, he didn't have to be superhuman every night. Some nights he gonna give you 22 and somebody else gonna pop off, right? And so my concern is not that AD would get hurt, but that's just not sustainable. It was a great run.
Yeah.
And he's putting up some numbers, going back to Kobe and Shaq. But not sustainable, but I'll take the wins. I just want him to get in a situation where just get to the playoffs and then see what happens. Crawl back into playoff contention.
Okay.
And hopefully AD can raise his game. Hopefully LeBron, it's like those heist movies. We're getting the group back together for one last go round and hope that for 2 or 3 weeks, LeBron and AD can do something and see what happens. But that's my 2 cents on the Lakers.
There you go. And backstage in that BS3 Network green room is our third guest, man.
That's right. This is the Iowa Corn green room now. Friend of the show, friend in real life. We've broken bread. He's come over and ate my grilled foods. Main man of Go Iowa Awesome, Adam Jacoby. I invited him on, and then it just was very fortuitous when the bowls were announced this weekend.
That's true. That's true. This appearance was not contingent on Iowa and Kentucky playing each other. But we got to start that rivalry. We got to really build up that enmity. It was a little too cordial last year. Like we got to see some bloodshed this time around, I guess.
Yeah, so we're going to lead off with that. Let's talk about this bowl game that the sequel nobody wanted to see. Like, I've just gotten the feeling around town and with Kentucky fans, it's kind of like, all right, it's a bowl game. But there's no sizzle like there was even last year.
Right, because all of the novelty is gone. Right, last year was the first time that Iowa and Kentucky had ever faced off on the gridiron. And you had this cool thing where, Mark Stoops gets to face Kirk Ferentz. And that's a cool thing to have happen one year. It's not really the sort of thing that you dial up a sequel for. And
the sequel nobody asked for.
That's right. That's right. Like, not even the starting quarterbacks asked for it. They're out. They're gone. So they're both piecing out. What am I doing?
This reminded me of Dumb and Dumber 2, where it's like, okay, the first one was fun. I enjoyed it. But then it's like, who asked for this? So now we're going to see 2 worst teams go through the motions. And honestly, the bowl game, it was okay, but it wasn't like, well, we need more of that.
And it's going to be in Nashville. So at the very least, it's going to be colder than Florida. So we've got that. Yeah, I think it's going to be a difficult game to score some points in. And I personally happen to enjoy points, and yet I keep rooting for and writing about Iowa football. So joke's on me. Just like I get surprised at how cold it gets here literally every winter.
Yes.
I've been up here for 40 years. I should know it by now. And yet it still comes as a surprise. So fool me 40 times, shame on me.
And my thing, you know, I saw the over under is 33, and I'm like, whoa, that is being awful generous.
Wow.
You know, I think we talked about this on the Spaces last night, Vinny, where I said, look, if it's an ugly game, that's where Iowa lives. Like, we are going to do it because our offensive line isn't great and Will Levis isn't playing. Like, Iowa loves this stuff. I think because after the game you and I went to, Adam, where they won with the two safeties, and remember, Vinny, whatever that, you know, a team that has this amount of offense scores this few points and still wins the game, all of college football for the last 50 years, it's like 3 and 3,000. And Iowa's won 2 of those.
Unbelievable.
Iowa's 2 and 1 in those games. Everybody else is 1 and 3,000. I'm like, they love this, man. Bizarre scoring. Like I said to you, Adam, like, Iowa football makes me do math. Like, how do you get to 20 points without a touchdown? Like, how do you do that? But they do that.
Yeah. Yeah. The unfortunate thing is nobody goes to football games to do math homework.
Yeah.
There's some announcers who like to put that hat on every now and then and you know, try to play the, oh, you don't need to go for 2 here. It's the football equivalent of, you don't need to shoot a 3 here. Like,
Right.
At some point you should shoot a 3. Like, come on, guys. But sorry, I'm getting myself off on tangents at this point. No, it's definitely a familiar type of ugly for Iowa that we're going to see in this bowl game. Now, that being said, close games are close games, and the more often you take these things into the fourth quarter, into the second half of the fourth quarter, and it's a 1-possession game. Well, I mean, just look back at the end of last year's bowl. All it takes is, you know, one big play by a Wan'Dale Robinson. You know, obviously he's not there now, but all it takes is one play and an entire game flips. And so Iowa's been good at keeping those big flip plays from happening or making them themselves. But there's only so good you can get because luck is a factor in basically every college football game. It's, you know, people hear that word luck and they think, you know, they associate it with sour grapes. They associate it with, oh, well, the win's not legitimate. No, like, luck is a legitimate part of the game. You can, like, earn a win and still need some luck to do it. And I think Iowa has been on the right side of that luck quite often. And that doesn't, like, you also make your own luck, and Iowa's very good at that too. But you do sort of have to depend on it a little bit. So as long as this game is close, and I'm not sure both these, or like either of these teams are getting that much far above 10. So as long as it stays close, and I think it will, at the very least, the fourth quarter should be in some level of doubt for most of it. Because if it's not, this is just going to be completely unwatchable. Like, at the very least, give me a close finish if you're not going to give me points, right?
Yeah.
At least give us something we can convince ourselves. Well, that was a classic 6-3 game. Like, they don't make them like that anymore. Just give me something.
Yeah.
Now, where, Adam, you know, people, you know, Kentucky fans say, you know, there's always been a little grumbling, gradually becoming more and more vocal minority on Cal that don't like him. And since there's been some struggles, now they get a chance to kind of, oh yeah, well, I never, you know, and you know, kind of pop off and verbalize the frustration or whatever they've always had. You just said a few minutes ago that, you know, you writing for Iowa and covering Iowa, you like points, and obviously they don't really light up the scoreboard, and they historically haven't done it for a while. What percentage of the fan base is like you, like, I wish we could see some points? what percentage of the fan base is just like, this is what we do, this is how we roll? Where are they at on Ferentz and the Ferentz the son and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Are there a lot of people like you that, God, I'd love to see some points? Why can't we get? What's the dynamic there?
It's a really fascinating dynamic, and one that is often a little bit difficult to navigate, because there's a significant portion of the fan base who, appreciates the stability that having a coach for like a quarter century brings to the table. Kirk Ferentz has been in Iowa since 1999, and Hayden Fry was there prior to him back to 1979. All right. 43 years, 2 football coaches. And that is something that Iowa fans have sort of gotten used to. So, especially when we grow up in the state, we look over in Ames and, 9 times out of 10, up until Matt Campbell showed up, 9 times out of 10, they weren't even going to a bowl. So, seeing a local team, compete with the big boys, not necessarily competing for championships, but putting together 8-9 wins on a fairly regular basis, going to bowls on a nearly perennial basis. A whole lot of that fan base, I would say more than half, dare I say it, the silent majority, I hate that term. But there is that portion of the Iowa fan base who's like, look, I'm good. I know we're not going to, get in the tank tomorrow. We're not rebuilding anything. I like the wins. And so that portion of the fan base has also been around long enough to remember what happened when the Iowa athletic department decided to get a little too cute with a sure thing. And you guys are probably old enough to remember Dr. Tom Davis, the men's basketball coach at the University of Iowa. Squared off against Kentucky a couple times, as a matter of fact, especially later in his tenure. So he was a perennial first weekend NCAA tournament guy, usually topped out at about a 4 seed or a 5 seed, but always somewhere in between that 4 and 10. Almost never made a Sweet 16. And at some point, the athletic director at the time, Bob Bowlesby, future commissioner of the Big 12, decided he was just not going to renew Dr. Tom's contract. And Dr. Tom was, at the very least, this 5'7", likable, squeaky clean, wasn't competing for championships. And, Iowa hadn't done that since the late 60s. I know you guys aren't that old, but the Ralph Miller era. But Bowlesby said, I think we can do a little bit better than this. And so he quiet fired Dr. Tom and ended up with Steve Alford. And Steve Alford era was one of the most embarrassing, if not the most embarrassing, in major sports in the University of Iowa history. The basketball was not good. It was sloppy. And the way he stuck his neck out for the wrong people rubbed a whole lot of fans the wrong way, in a way that they have not come back since. And that fear of the unknown is what sticks a whole lot of people on that Kirk Ferentz train to this day. To the point where Mark Stoops, he hasn't come right out and said, pick me, pick me, pick me. But it's a very likely pipeline from Lexington to Iowa City once that job opens up in Iowa City. And it would be great. I think it would be a nice fit. There are so many fans who, even when they have that much of a sure thing, say, I'm leaving it up to Kirk. I don't like it. Has to be his decision, or else I'm not going to like it. And I don't want us, they don't want to hear about who this next great kid is going to, who like the next great 40-year-old coach is. They don't want to hear that anymore. And so that's a large part of the fan base. And to actually finally end up answering your question, there's a lot of the fan base who just wants to see points and wins. That, it's not fun to see a top 5 defense on a 7-win team. That is sort of like it takes you out of the enjoyment of watching this team. And I get that too. And I'm a little bit a part of that. And it's not an invalid point. I think it's absolutely fair to say, look, if you can play that well on defense, you can play that well on special teams, and your offense is not giving these guys a chance, like a realistic chance to play for a Big Ten championship, much less like even a berth in the playoffs. It's fair to feel a little bit cheated about that. So that dynamic makes things a little bit uneasy in the Iowa fan base these days, and it's just going to stay that way.
With that, and my whole thing has been, because Adam, you and I have talked about this off camera as we eat vittles and do things and go to different restaurants around town, that I have been telling people, and Vinny, you know this, Kentucky football should aspire to be what Iowa football is. And people are like, well, because you're there. I'm like, yeah, I'm here now, and I kind of see it, but it's like, beat your rivals on a fairly consistent basis. Have a team every now and then that's poised to make noise. You beat a Michigan every now and then. You beat Ohio State like you did a couple years ago. That is a pretty good place to be, with a bowl in, bowl out every year. That being said, does it change with the playoff? And if you say, hey, if we can become number 2 or 3 in the Big Ten, that's, playoff money or whatever that is. To me, I think that changes the calculus on a lot of these teams that aren't necessarily top 4, but if you're top 15, with that expanded playoff, there's a change coming.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of it, and also sort of a feather in Ferentz's cap, because look, this season stunk. This offense has stunk for a while, but you look back at his 23 years, and he has like 5 or 6 different finishes in the top 12 at the end of the season. So, were any of those teams good enough to like actually make a serious dent in the playoffs? Probably not since 2002, but once you get in there, you're in, right? And so I think that is like, you look at Minnesota, who just signed PJ Fleck, or who I call Red Bull Rod Cordry. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. But anyway, they just signed him to a 7-year, $42 million deal. And I'm old enough to remember when giving any coach $6 million a year was absurd. But they signed him to this long, stable deal, one, because the playoff is expanding, and now all of a sudden, you win your division and you're right there in that conversation just to like get in. And at a school like Minnesota, 1 playoff berth sounds amazing. And 2, Minnesota, like Kentucky, would do well to follow that Iowa football model, that they have had so much experience lately with trying to do a rebuild and then rebuilding on top of that rebuild within 3 years, and continuing that cycle, that once you have your ticket off of that like carousel of doom, you take it. And if you have to pay a premium to do it, you pay the premium.
Yeah. But
you get a winning team on the field year in, year out. And winning isn't code for 12 wins. It's code for 7 or 8. And yeah, that means you have to suffer through like 5 losses, and it's not fun to suffer through 1, much less 5. But you have to understand that the difference between a 3-8, or I guess it would be 3-9 team, and a 7-5 team is enough that you hold on to those coaches and you say, all right, you made it onto this plateau. Let's aim up here now, but we're staying here as long as we can. So should Kentucky follow the Iowa model? Absolutely. And then once they're good enough to do it as well or better than Iowa, then you start setting your goals, differently. You set them higher. And that is, it's not a quick playbook for success, but in a sport like football, it's the most sustainable one.
Absolutely. And that's been my thing is like, well, we need to get somebody else. Kentucky football can't fire a winning football coach. Like that's not going to happen. Because Vinny and I talked about, and I can't remember where I picked this up, social media, whatever. If Mark Stoops was anywhere else, he would have been fired. Yeah, probably. In his first couple of years.
He's not anywhere else. Yeah.
Right. And I know that person meant it as a dig, but my response was every job comes with like the bare minimum, right? Like we recognize Billy Gillispie in year 1 wasn't a fit. Year 2, you got to go, right? Like you let Nick Saban have another year with 2 losses before the Auburn game. They're going to be loud chattering about what is and is not acceptable. That's just the nature of it, right? So I'm on board with letting Stoops, if this is disappointing, we were just talking to Carrie Lewis. She's our age. She suffered through some, because she was in the band. So she had to sit through a lot of those losses that I was like, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm out. So folks like us are like, this is not bad. Like 7-5, not great. Losing to Vandy, not great. But a bowl game and looking toward next year, the cupboard's not bare. Like, Vinny, we would have a 7-win season and then the wheels would fall off and we'd be back at square one. Like it's not quite like that anymore. And I appreciate that. But Adam, before we let you go, and we're not running out of time, but want to segue, are there any bowl games besides the Music City Bowl that you're chomping at the bit to watch before? I know, I couldn't even say that with a straight. Are there any other bowl games that you're really chomping at the bit to go see or to watch?
I went with the wide angle on my camera just so you guys could make sure that no one was holding a gun to my head when I said that I was looking forward to the Music City Bowl. But there's a couple that I am super excited for. Obviously, Michigan versus TCU, I think is going to be a more competitive game than Georgia, Ohio State. Like Ohio State has the talent to hang with Georgia, but Georgia's the dogs. And Ohio State ain't got no dog in them.
No.
Michigan proved it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And even when Iowa went to Columbus, I mean, the final score ended up being 54-10. Buckeyes scored 1 touchdown in their first 10 possessions. It's just that Iowa's offense just kept giving them the ball on short fields over and over. But you put that Buckeye team up against a solid defense and up against a solid offensive line, both of which Georgia has easily, they're going to be in some trouble. And so I don't think that game is going to stay competitive much past halftime, even if that. Michigan TCU is going to be a lot of fun just because TCU reminds me a lot of Purdue. And Purdue made more of a game out of that Big Ten championship than most people expected. So TCU, like all of Purdue's like little quirks and all of their like clutch catches that they like to make, TCU's got that in steroids. So I think that's going to be a very competitive game. Max Duggan, who is from Iowa, by the way, you put him in a fourth quarter where they're only down by 10, something's going to happen. We've seen it over and over from them. Another bowl that I'm looking forward to. It's one of my favorite matchups, and it's a coaching matchup, and it is Illinois against Mississippi State. In the no, it's not the Mayo Bowl. The whatever this bizarro zombie Outback Bowl is these days. I don't know what that. They don't pay me to say that company's name. I'm not going to say it. It's the Outback Bowl.
That's right.
Bielema versus Mike Leach is capable of being so wonderfully chaotic. Like, you could tell me the score is going to end up being 10-6. Okay, I believe you. 45-42. I believe you. Like anything in between, I believe you. Now, I would not want to be caught in a room with those two having a conversation. Like, I'm dipping immediately because I know I'm going to hear something ignorant quickly and over. But
yeah,
in terms of like clashing philosophies. Super looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a sneaky great game.
We know about Mike Leach from his Kentucky days, and some of the old heads have Mike Leach stories. Larry Vaught's got a few, Vinny, so we understand that.
Yep. Yeah, I was trying to find what day it was or who it was. I can't even find it now.
I can't keep up with all that. I used to be, in my younger days, I used to be able to keep up with it. Now I spend my time making sure I got the dog fed. So perspective changes a little.
Yes, it does. Yes.
I'll throw out one more game that I think is also going to be interesting, and that is Maryland versus NC State. That one is the Mayonnaise Bowl, and not only for the whole ACC thing, but I think Talia Tagovailoa is probably the most underrated quarterback in college football. It stinks that he plays at a program like Maryland, who's just going to get wasted by the big boys whenever they play him. But he plays like his older brother. He's got a lot of moxie. He's a lot of fun to watch. And NC State head coach Dave Doran, I'm surprised he hasn't taken a bigger job by now because he was on everybody's radar.
Yeah.
Two, about Dave Doran. Terry, you know where he went to school? Where he played college football?
I don't know, was it Iowa?
Drake University, baby.
Oh, the Fighting Bulldogs, man.
That's right.
That's right. We got to go to a couple of games now. We got some things we got to start checking off that we've been pushing back. We got to see Drake play. We got to go to Iowa City and see a few things too. So I'm not letting you off the hook.
I'm not trying to get off, man.
All right.
We're going to make it happen. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Looking forward to seeing the tweets.
It's always fun. Love going to the Drake ball games, Vinny, because to me, and I think I told you this, Adam, when you go to Rupp, it's a thing. It's 20,000 people. It's Vegas, right? It is. But going to Drake, it's like, this is actual college basketball. And I don't mean that in that Hoosiers, that Bellarmine, this is what basketball is supposed to be. Not that foolishness, but it's just a different feeling than it is going to Rupp. I love going to Rupp, but I also like going to the Knapp Center. Also have fun. Mm-hmm. And we got to go watch Caitlin Clark. The girl can ball, man. That young lady, she can ball. Although she had, 45 points the other night, and they lost.
They keep not playing defense in the fourth quarter. It's always been their Achilles heel going back to last season, and it's gotten even worse this year. I got my fingers crossed that they're just getting this out of the way because I'd rather them be doing it in November, December than in March and April. So hopefully they can turn some things around because she knows how to score, she knows how to ball, but defense is a team effort, and right now the team's still lacking a little bit. I trust Lisa Bluter. I trust Jan Jensen, Iowa's two leading coaches on that side. They're both great, and they've got the resumes to back it up. And, we're talking about the reigning Big Ten champions, regular season and tournament. So we know they got some success to fall back on. So hopefully this is just a small rough patch, and you and I can go watch another championship team a couple times this year.
That's right. We're working on becoming boosters, Vinny. I don't know if I told you our plan to become Drake boosters, simply because I think the buy-in to become booster is a little bit less than it is in Lexington. We don't have private play. We don't have private plane money. You know what I'm saying? I'm not Daryl Isaacs or Papa John. Like, I ain't got it like that. I ain't got no horse money. Like, what's it gonna take for me to get in? Get in on this thing. And plus, with this house, my money ain't running like it should.
We got Uber money.
That's right. And now
we take the Uber to the Knapp Center.
That's right.
Since I got ridiculous things like that automatic blinds, I'm spending my money on stupid stuff anyway. So, but Adam, my man, we're gonna get together and break bread soon. Again,
absolutely.
Vinny, every Sunday I grill out. We just go to the meat store and we get a whole bunch of meat. And I tell folks come over, and Adam's come over a couple times. Always fun. But we'll get together before the bowl game. But leading up to the bowl game, Mr. Adam Jacoby, where can folks find your Iowa coverage on the internet?
You can find it at goiowaawesome.com. It is one of the longest running Iowa websites on these here internets. And Terry, I know we talked about a little news that's coming on that front. I can't announce anything just yet, but I'll just say 2023 is going to be a great year to be a goiowaawesome.com reader. So,
but how you gonna
find
give
all
me
our
a secret and tell me not to tell it? That ain't right. Come on now.
Ink's not dry.
I know,
Ink's
man.
not on paper.
Vinny gives me secrets and stuff about what we do, and he's like, "But you can't tell." Then why would you tell me? Anyway,
Because we gotta
Adam
tell
J-
someone. We gotta tell someone.
That's it.
Trust you.
Sound
There we
me.
go.
Terry Brown.
we appreciate it. Adam, thank you so much for dropping by and giving us some insight on Kentucky, Iowa 2, Electric Boogaloo.
That's
So,
right.
Too Fast, Too Furious. I can
It's
keep
Definitely
this
not
going.
that.
It's
Definitely.
neither fast nor furious.
Exactly. Exactly. Won't be none of that.
But I'm gonna see how it goes, Adam, because every time I'm outside of my house, I got my Kentucky stuff on. So my folks know around here I'm the Kentucky guy. So we'll see how this goes. When it gets close to
So,
game
like,
time.
Kentucky can't win by too much. You don't want eggs on your garage door
Heck
come
no,
Gen
man.
1.
Heck no. I don't know this area. I don't know if they do that kind of thing. It's a little different out here. But Adam Jacoby, always good, friend of the show, friend in real life. Always good to have you on, Adam. We appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Vinny. Thank you, Terry. Take care. Have a great
Thank-
night, gentlemen.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Adam. Our bowl extravaganza, Vinny. First annual, first go around. I liked it. We covered a lot of bases. We were hollering about the Cox. We talked about TCU. Adam's talking about things going on here in the Hawkeye State. That's awesome. I'm glad we were able to get together.
Man, 3 for 3. Enjoyed every bit of that, man. And
Absolutely. But yeah, Satterfield, just a few thoughts on that. It just never was going to work. And once, and that's the thing too, is coaches are always trying to move up. But I think it was the way that it was done with Satterfield, just a bad look. The whole South Carolina thing and all this kind of stuff. And it was just it was one of those hires. It was like, it reminded me of Mike White leaving Florida basketball to go to Georgia. It's like, okay, like they weren't sad to see you leave and the other team's not sad for you to come. Like, what are we even doing here? All these other hires, or a lot of other hires, you could see it, but this is lukewarm. I just want to show our Louisville brethren, this is why the football program is a stepping stone job.
Yeah.
It just is. This is like the fourth or fifth coach that's had dalliances with other teams and bolted. And the response was, well, what about Kentucky football? Yeah, I get it. When Bill Curry left, I think he ended up going to Georgia Southern. Okay. Rich Brooks is golfing, right? Joker ain't had anything. So yeah, I get it. I think Guy Morris went to Baylor.
Yeah.
I get that. Like, I'm not saying, but I ain't saying that Kentucky is either.
Right.
Like, you have to be, I think, honest with what the job is.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Louisville basketball job, that's a career job. Like Pitino would have stayed if it wasn't for the scandal. Like Crum stayed, right? I'm honest about the Kentucky basketball job. I've talked to other people, like the Kentucky basketball job is not a job where it's never pretty on the way out.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty with Billy G. Wasn't pretty with Tubby.
Yeah.
I mean, the prettiest it's been is Rick.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't warm and fuzzy. Like, there hasn't been a Kentucky coach that's gotten the Coach K treatment or the Dean Smith treatment. That's not how it ends here. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think the money makes the Cal thing a little bit different. And I think how this season goes, and great win against Michigan, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
but depending on how that goes, and next year's team should be loaded, but he's still not going to get that. This is my last year. That I don't think that's going to happen. So, I think, and look, I know a lot of good Louisville fans. This ain't for them, but you got Brom. That's a good thing, but now you got to perform. Because, lest I point out, when you bring back a former player to coach at his alma mater, it doesn't always go well.
Don't they know? Don't they know it?
And it hurts me because I love me some Kenny Payne. I loved Kenny Payne when I was a young youth, rooting for the Cardinals, rooting for DJ Wagner's grandfather. That's going to make me feel old. We've been talking about stuff that makes, like, when that dude, when he comes in next year, I'm going to feel old as all get out because I remember rooting for his grandfather.
Yeah, that's
going to hurt. But I don't know, man. Like, I think they got Florida A&M and like somebody else, but Florida State's not that great either.
No, they got one. I think they 1-8 last time I checked.
Yeah, it's going to be 1-6 combined 1-16 matchup.
Mercy.
Gads. It's cover your eyes terrible, and I don't know what they do. Whether are they going to bail on, because it's not going to be pretty. Like you and I have talked about, Cal, whatever's wrong with the offense, we got to 20-piece them. Like we just need to get it in that. I need to see that. Is it Brendan Canada? I need to see them dudes out there.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a comfortable win. This can't be close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I understand Kenny Payne is your friend, but man, we need to get those dudes off the court, right?
Mm-hmm.
But looking through even the ACC, it's going to be bad for them. North Carolina is bad, but North Carolina going to be better than this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's conceivable. I mean, it's not even conceivable. They are not winning more than 10 games.
Oh, no way.
So you got to start having a conversation. How many games do you win before you start talking about Kenny Payne being one and done? Because this is that type of situation where you let Louisville get 2 or 3 wins, that kills all momentum. How can you recruit on that?
No.
Like, how do you go out? And I'm not saying that part to be a Kentucky fan crowing, but honestly, how do you recruit on that? At least when Kentucky had the 9 wins, they were way more competitive than what Louisville do. Like, they're not even being competitive. For the first time, I think ever, Louisville lost by 25 plus at home in back-to-back games. And it's not going to get better.
Yeah.
Because as you and I know, when you are weak and your enemies smell blood, this is going to be a get-right game.
Mm-hmm.
This is a get-right game.
Mm-hmm. Man.
And it stinks because I still say Louisville's a top 10 program ever. But, it is what it is at this point.
And they having to do for them like, the Kentucky 9-win season, having to go way back in the archives to find when stuff was this bad. I forget
futility.
Somebody tweeted out Zan Payne, bless his heart. He's gonna be part of the Kentucky's worst season ever and Louisville's. He's gonna be
a trivia. It'll be a trivia question.
Go back to the 40s for stuff for Louisville, the worst start in the history, and this and that and that. The same stuff we was doing.
Yeah, that is not fun.
Yeah, we was going back to the 20s and 1911 and all that for the 9 and 16, and now they're having to do the same thing. So,
yeah, it's bad for them. Finishing up with Louisville real quick. Denny Crum, longtime coach, the face of Louisville basketball, not in great health. Again, growing up as a Louisville fan, Denny Crum, he was the dude. And for me, I've said this before, and this may step on toes. When I was growing up, Louisville was a cooler program than Kentucky. Kentucky may have been better, but there was a stretch. Louisville won 2 titles and went to 6 Final Fours like in 8 seasons. That's pretty good.
Uh-huh.
And
Hmm.
they had Dr. Dunkenstein, and the doctor's a dunk. That is objectively cool.
It is.
I tell folks, go to YouTube, Google the 1983 NCAA Final Four matchup between Louisville and Houston.
Okay.
The Doctors of Dunk versus Phi Slamma Jamma. One, you'll see how Portland had Clyde Drexler and thought they didn't need Michael Jordan. Like
Yeah.
a lot has been made about that in Portland saying that, but I think we forget mid-'80s Clyde Drexler was something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't that far of a stretch to think we got this guy. Anyway, go watch that. Denny Crum, his resume is better than you think. 6 Final Fours and 2 titles. That's better than a lot of people that get talked about.
Yeah,
The
that's
2
true.
titles is as much as Dean Smith. It's more than Lute Olson.
Yeah.
More than Coach Cal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as much as Bill said, like, you know, so much love to Coach Crum. Hopefully he's okay and everything. But man, football extravaganza. This worked out to be wonderfully. Friends of the show,
Yes.
friendly people, hollering about the Cox, talking about the Hypnotoads, and then talking about the beauty of Iowa football.
That's right. Real quick, last thing, Ari, you out there in those, I forget y'all's hashtag, faithful to the FTTB, whatever it is y'all do. We just putting Brock Purdy in and not missing a beat. Is that the mindset for the Niners, or are we kind of a little bit crushed?
Losing Jimmy G, it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And the pressure is going to be on Brock Purdy. To me, it doesn't really change. It's you can't make the big mistakes. That's the whole thing. I've said it all this season. As long as he doesn't make big mistakes, the team can win. You know, I keep saying, you know, we have shown we can go on the road in the playoffs to 2 of the most hostile environments in the NFL with an offense doing close to nothing. Although I think we did score a touchdown against Dallas, but we can win. Like this team is convinced that as long as the offense doesn't mess up, we can win.
So they bringing somebody in while Jimmy's out, so because they don't
Somebody
have
sent me
right now, right?
Yeah, somebody sent me something about signing your boy Baker Mayfield. Get out of him. No. That dude don't fit what we want. 1, he can't throw the ball downfield. 2, nah, man, he gonna take some gambles. And no, we don't do that. But the defense is first in like everything. Point like the touchdown they gave up against Miami was the first score in like 5 games in the second half. Like the defense is lights out. Like they are beating people up. And so I'm excited, you know, as long as Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, he's an Iowa State guy, so I'm not that thrilled, but he has a chance to don't screw this up.
There you go. That's it. So
it's still going to be a good story if he gets to the Super Bowl with this team.
Yeah, man. See, I'll just keep on keeping on, I guess, and just
it's the defense, man. The defense is just relentless. Bosa is just a beast, and he makes everything go. And we've just got those athletic linebackers that not a lot of flash, but man, those guys, I love it, man. I love it. They beat people up. That's the most underrated thing of the 49ers dynasty of the 80s. Yes, Joe, obviously, my dude. Where is he at? I got it, you know.
Oh,
a little Funko Pop, Jerry Rice. But it was the defense. It was Ronnie Lott and those dudes. Keena Turner, a lot of those guys, man. Like the 49ers defense was solid. I mean, also it was back in the day when you could just hoard talent with no salary cap there. But still, having some defense and everything. So I'm still encouraged. I'm sad for Jimmy G because he's a good dude. We have seen mediocre quarterbacks like your boy in New York for the Jets stir the pot. But as I've always said, the team seems to like Jimmy. And so that's something you can't say for a lot of quarterbacks that produce equal to what he produces.
That's true. That is true. So I had to get you the update, on all things Niners and Lakers. Didn't want to, but had to go ahead and do that. And
those teams matter, baby.
in addition to the bowl preview extravaganza spectacular with all our great guests. Appreciate you getting them on and got some more good stuff coming next week. And you was texting me what you had in the works and we look like we ought to have a couple guests for next week. So we get some times for when they want to come on and all that and have another good show. Let's see, next week is the 14th. So we won't have a bowl game yet, but we'll be a week closer to some bowl games and some plenty of NFL. Kentucky will have played Yale over the weekend. And like you mentioned, finally got a win over a big name team and beating Michigan over there in London. So that was good. Cason Wallace is doing his thing. That young fella is playing some ball. So
Absolutely. So awesome stuff. Great show. We're going to do it again. Appreciate you, Vinny.
Absolutely. For everybody, check it out wherever you listen to your podcast. Gonna play this outro, and we thank y'all for watching, and we'll catch y'all next Wednesday.